It's a trap!
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
This is the Team of Rivals podcast.
Everything you want to hear from the big sports to the big screen.
He's all by himself, fires into the end zone. Caught! Touchdown! No!
Vaughn into the windup in his first offering. Just a bit outside. He tried the corner and missed.
Doesn't like you. I don't like you either.
Time winding down. Michael for three. Yeah! Yes! She is gone! I don't believe what I just saw.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy! You believe in miracles? Yes!
You may fire when ready.
What?
Team of Rivals fans, it's Thursday, November 12th. We have a president. Maybe we don't. We had an episode of The Mandalorian, or maybe we didn't. We don't quite remember. Not particularly memorable. And I guess the offseason started. We've started getting awards and qualifying offers rejected and everything. But everything just feels like it's in a really weird limbo. What do you think, Ron, my co-host? And co-founder of this podcast, Ron Nuttall. Ron, it just kind of feels like everything's in limbo, like it's off. Nothing seems like it's moving forward right now. Is that just me?
No, everything seems out of whack, man. For the first time ever, I mentioned to you before, what the hell is my camera doing up so high? Yeah, see, there we go. I've gotten a flu shot every year, and usually I never feel the effects of it, and today is totally different. Like, I totally know that's what it's from. I hit a little bit of a speed bump earlier, and I texted you guys tepidly hoping I would hear back, nah, we're good for tonight. In the way that means that, nah, we don't need to do one tonight, because I would have happily went to bed. But I caught a second wind a little while ago, and I'm absolutely fine. Plus, I set up everything, so I would have been annoyed anyway if we hadn't done it. So it was kind of a lose-lose, if you think about it. But yeah, to your point, I kind of went radio silent, I guess, if you'd say that, as far as any sports front over the last week plus, right? I guess the last 9 days, I haven't really, what's going on in baseball, and I know there's a Francisco Lindor rumor floating around out there, the typical shit we hear in the off season, and I've been so fixated on just the madness that's happening politically that it's really kind of eaten my attention up. Plus, I've had some really long super days at work, so yeah, man. This is 2020. It's going to go out, and it's already been a bad year, and I think it's going to go out with a bang.
2020 is just sitting in the chair and getting every single tooth in your mouth pulled.
Fix this.
Swear to God,
right now.
It's just excruciating and never ending. Yeah, you're right. The Francisco Lindor rumors seem to really be heating up, and it seems that there's actually some real fire there. It's not just smoke this year. They seem to be motivated sellers, and actually your Cardinals are one of the teams that have been mentioned as a possible destination for Lindor, which would just be the kick in the teeth that the Cubs need right now. I'd be so happy to come on, and you know what we would end up doing is a replay of the Jose Quintana trade. When you called me and you were like, you son of a bitch, and I had no idea what you were talking about. I just hope that it plays out as well for you guys as Quintana has worked out for us.
Yeah, it's kind of a the thing is, I look at that trade. We didn't necessarily have to get into it yet, because what I want to talk about first, I do want to get it to the Lindor deal. Yeah. But Tony La Russa is now back in the saddle, right, as a manager, and he enters the picture. He enters the picture. Look, he's not a dumb guy. I mean, look. It's not to say that you can't be an attorney or a lawyer and went to law school and got through it, but you just lack all common sense. And I just thought that, man, somebody who's who's been in that position, he's probably pretty proud of his image, would have avoided that kind of situation at all costs. And lo and behold, it really surprised me that he's got drilled a second time for that offense, allegedly, right? So,
although what's more surprising, that he got another DUI or that he's actually being forced on a young up and coming team where, I mean, really, if they had wanted it, the White Sox could have had their pick of any manager. Yeah. They could have had anybody they wanted. And instead, Jerry Reinsdorf apparently decided to right a 40-year-old wrong and bring back Tony La Russa. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, Tony La Russa, absolutely deserving Hall of Famer. But this just seems like the wrong move for any team, but especially for the White Sox.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. In fact, I mean, look, there's no denying that this guy, if he had the itch again, he's an ultra competitor, right? We all know that. If he had the itch to manage again, I guess we can all kind of understand that, even given his age. What is he, 72? I mean, we just elected a president who's, 77? So, I mean, correct. I think one job's a little more stressful than the other. Well, maybe not to Tony, but I mean, I understand that. But the way he left the game as a member of the team, he went out on top. He won the World Series in a year where he announced months before that he was, silently, he let ownership and everybody know that he was going to, his intention was to retire at the end of the year. Then he comes back and returns for the All-Star game, which I actually thought was kind of cool. He didn't have to do that. He could have let Mike Matheny manage it. But he came back for that one game. The National League won a rare, it seems, All-Star game. And boy, you talk about going off into the sunset, right? And with on top, essentially. And a lot of me goes, shit, man, I wish you would have just left it there. And you didn't, and you got yourself back in, fine. But now this, and I'm surprised, Pete, knowing this thing was still pending. Now, I guess he let the White Sox know about it, so it's not like he was hiding it. It's not like a Wally Backman thing where the Diamondbacks hire him and then a few days later find out, he's gotten into all kinds of trouble and they let him go. This could end up the same way, I guess, but that would be a sad story, right? I mean, sad enough, sad to a point. But, I guess if, look, man, you're never too old to make a bad decision, of course. And he's made a couple of them in the back half of his life that those things suck. And I kind of feel for him, but at the same time, it's like, shit, you've been there before. You think you would have learned your lesson. He's a smart guy, but maybe not that smart.
Maybe not that smart. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's funny that we never even touched on La Russa, even when he was rumored. We still didn't.
I know.
We never brought it up, and I just kind of wonder if that's kind of an indicator of, I think, how everybody felt. Like, okay, nice rumor, but that's not really going to happen.
Our missing, those of you who have probably already noticed, we have a missing character tonight, and that's not a surprise. He was grocery shopping. Pete and I don't know.
He'll join us as soon as he finishes putting them away.
As soon as he feels like it, and so he'll blow in here. We were adjusting our volume levels and everything, and he's going to come in louder than both of us. I know that, and so you guys will know when he's here. I won't have the ability to mute him right away. That's the only one of the downfalls of Wirecast. They don't have instant control over volume, so we're all going to hear him. So you'll know when he's here.
No introduction necessary anyway.
No, there's not. But on the baseball front, I mean, I guess there's some things going on, man. To be honest with you, I'm only paying so much attention to it. The big news, of course, is right now, the big question I've been asked this week, and I actually already talked about it on Two Birds on a Bat on Tuesday on Ruffled Feathers, and that was, you brought it up, the deal with Francisco Lindor. Once again, the Cardinals, in some mentions are mentioned as being a suitor. And we can get into the reality of that. There's a couple things to take stock in, though, and that is, look, they've already come out and stated a few things. They didn't pick up an option that was only $12.5 million on a Gold Glove second baseman. What's the likelihood that you're going to do this, and what's it going to cost you? And it's a big, huge Twitter post on this, post that show. And there's all kinds of mixed thoughts about, of course, given where the Cardinals are at right now, they're, and I don't want to come across saying, gosh, I'm just totally down and disappointed on this team. I'm really not. It's actually, you said it better than I could have said it last week when you said it's actually remarkable or a couple weeks ago, whenever we did the show postseason, you said it's actually remarkable and admirable that they actually still made it to the playoffs given the circumstances that they were under this year, the injuries, the delay with the, coronavirus testing. A lot of them tested positive. So they were missing a lot of people, had to make it up 11 double headers. And it was just, it was a mad rush to get to the end. They still got there. But you can't help but to walk away from this going, well, I don't know what that would have looked like over 162 games with that offense. I really don't. Right. It could have been a much different picture. Or I guess it could have been the same. I mean, you could have had leveling out of other teams like the Marlins, for instance, that got there, and maybe they wouldn't have over 162 games. So I guess you don't quite know, but I've seen enough to know that, offensively, you can only look, the run prevention story is great, but how long is that going to last you when your offense just can't put up a consistent threat or even a crooked number every once in a while? Like, that's a lot of pressure to put on a pitching staff and a defense when your club's just not able to frighten at all the other team. The only pitchers that were frightened of the Cardinals were pitchers that had control struggles, and they were just worried about walking a bunch of them. But trust me, they're not worried about the Cardinals just putting a shellacking on them any given inning. So they've got a lot of work to do, Pete. And I guess it's a long way of me saying I don't know that Lindor is just the magic bullet that's going to fix everything. And I think a lot of sane fans don't believe that either. It's going to take a lot more than that. So the question is, would you do it? And I could probably think of 26, 25 teams that would love to have Francisco Lindor. Maybe you wouldn't because you do have Javier Baez, but a lot of teams would love to have
Francisco Lindor.
Would you just move Baez back to second?
Yeah, they've done it before. They've played
in
the middle. I mean, you would turn every double play if you had those two up the middle.
Yeah, sure. And imagine if the Cardinals still had Wong and that up the middle defense, right?
Exactly. I'm sure Javi would not mind moving over to second at all for his best friend.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it would absolutely happen. Yeah, honestly, what I would rather see the Cardinals do this offseason is definitely go ahead and pay Yachty for 2 more years. Like, lock that contract in now. I'll sign that contract for the Cardinals to put Yachty in because, I mean, that's what I want to see you guys do. Right when you're on the possibility of pulling away from us by making a shrewd move by cutting ties with the past and signing one of the most dynamic young shortstops in the game, please hamstring yourself by committing yourself to 2 more years of Yadier Molina. That would be awesome. Please do it.
Yeah, I know that we would all. There he is. There's the guy. And don't talk yet, Alex. I gotta take your echo out. Okay, you're good to go. Did you get your grocery shopping done?
You bet. I had to go panic shop for when we shut down.
Where's your beer?
Oh, gotcha.
Shouldn't you be opening something excessively loudly into your microphone?
Yeah, we talked about that a second ago. No, he's not going to do it. All right.
No. Wait, he's not even in the basement. Elliott, how are we going to do this show when you don't have any background noise, any distracting sound effects? This is not a Team of Rivals podcast show.
It's really not.
Hey, but I'm on my phone this time because I didn't have time to go into the dirty basement.
That's funny. You actually look better on your phone.
Well, my phone has a way better camera than my computer does.
Yeah, really? But you got that
I
Android that I give you shit about.
Yeah.
He didn't go for that. He didn't like that.
So what's up?
So, E, would you agree with me? The Cardinals should definitely not trade for Francisco Lindor. Instead, what they should do is they should go back to the well one more time and re-up Yadier Molina for 2 years and Adam Wainwright for however long he wants to sign.
Absolutely.
See, that
would be the best if they did that. I mean, they got to, right? Because they love what they got, and they're gonna roll with it because they've got that talent right there.
Ron, before you were talking about when do you stop trying to rely on pitching and defense, and for a second there, I wasn't sure if you were talking about the Cardinals or the Cubs, because that's definitely been actually both teams' story for the last 2 years now, right? Good pitching, good defense. Offense just doesn't come through. In fact, the Cubs defense was so good this year. I don't know if you caught it, Ron. You said that you had been down a political rabbit hole. You may have missed this week that the Cubs won the first ever NL Team Gold Glove Award. I don't know if you had caught that one, but just wanted to make sure that the pitching and defense Cardinals fans who are out there in our audience just didn't want you guys to miss that one. So the first ever Team NL Gold Glove goes to the Chicago Cubs.
Yeah. Great. Good for them. I don't really know. I actually didn't even know that was going to be an award this year. I don't know if you guys were privy to that. I had no idea.
No idea.
So therefore,
I saw the tweets about it, and I was like, "That's a thing."
Yeah, and so that kind of leaves me like, I mean, I hate to say this, but I don't care. Is that okay? Is that okay to say?
Of course it is.
I mean,
you can say it.
I genuinely don't, and I know it's funny, but I saw it, and it really is how I feel about Gold Gloves. Like, I don't get too bent out of shape one way or the other. I know Molina does, but I don't. I truly don't. And great. Look, I look at somebody who's accumulated like a half dozen 8 Gold Gloves, and like, shit, that's pretty impressive. You've been the steadiest at your position statistically or whatever, and that's great. But year in, year out, I just don't care. I don't really care about MVP awards or Cy Young awards or anything. I just don't get too crooked one way or the other, which way it goes. I just don't.
Ron, is it just me or is Elliott frozen?
Or he's just really focused.
He could be really focused. That's true.
I think he's really, really focused right now.
He is. He is very focused. All right, good to know.
I'll probably have to set his shot back up, won't I?
Probably.
Yeah, okay.
Or maybe he's not coming back.
All right, Pete, before we get into Lindor and my thoughts around that, 'cause
Yeah.
I do have a breakdown on it. But I mean, what are the Cubs doing right now? Is it going to be, look, I get the feeling right now, given the way the market, I guess we won't know. It's kind of a wild card how this market is going to behave, but are they just, this is not a, how do I put it, man? Because, there's a full-blown rebuild, which they're not going to do that. I think they've got a couple, they've got probably 3 or 4 guys they're definitely going to want to hold on to, and maybe some younger
Finally.
And they've got some talent they definitely want to hold on to build a core around. But is this just more of they're doing some housekeeping here?
Yeah, I think somebody's getting traded. Obviously we don't know who it's going to be, but the smart money is that it's probably going to be Bryant or there's some talk that it could be Schwarber. I don't think you're trading Contreras. Not right now anyway. Hap, it seems that they want to hang on to, and now there are some rumors floating about that they might trade Darvish. But I mean, if you trade Darvish, then you're doing a full blown rebuild, and I don't see the Cubs doing that right now. Because if you trade away your ace, well, then what are you doing? And really, it doesn't save you all that much in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, if Darvish gets traded, then they're gutting the roster. They're not stopping there.
Yeah, I would agree. Pete, just a systems check here. Can you see this guy? Can you see Elliott?
No,
I don't see him.
I see a spinning circle in his preview window at the bottom of my screen.
Okay. All right. Oh,
which
did you hear that?
No.
Okay, don't worry. We recorded it. We'll save it.
Good.
We can hear him. Elliott, we can definitely hear you.
My audio is coming through. It's
Can
just
you?
that my video sucks.
That's okay.
This is making for some
That's all right.
Fascinating podcasting.
It really is. Yeah. So I'll get into the Francisco Lindor thing, and what do I think the likelihood of this is? Is he? Are they really going to? Is this something the Cardinals would do at this point in time? And I'd say, look, I give it. I'm going to stick to my prediction earlier in the week, and I'm going to say there's about a 10% chance that they try to make some kind of deal for Francisco Lindor. I think what they potentially have to give up, I don't know if they're going to be willing to at this point. They already turned down an option on, like I said earlier, their Gold Glove second baseman. They've indicated that there probably won't be a lot of spending when revenue's down. Spending is kind of parallel to that, right? Revenue down, spending is kind of goes in kind. And so I just don't think that that's something they're going to entertain doing. Now, let's say they, yeah.
And if they're seriously exploring bringing back Molina, I don't see how you can do both. Because Lindor's, I think the forecast on him is something like 18 million.
Yeah,
somewhere in that range.
Right. I don't know if any less will do. I truly don't. And by the way, so just a quick segue, and I'll get back to the point. Like right now, and I know I'm going to be a blasphemer for saying this to some Cardinals fans, but honestly, right now for next year, going into next year, given the now Pete's gone.
No, Pete's still here. He just turned off his camera for a second.
Okay, maybe he had to change his shirt. But out of the two, out of Wainwright and Molina, if I only had to pick one going into 2021, I am probably going with Adam Wainwright because of the situation with the pitching staff. He was arguably their better pitcher this year. And Flaherty's going to be your ace still going into next year, and he's the young guy. But really, we needed Adam Wainwright last year, and he performed beyond my expectations. He has like the last 2 or 3 years, so he's done great. And to me right now, he's probably, dare I say, a must-have, right? Like with Dakota Hudson being out with Tommy John surgery, Michaelis missed this whole year, and yeah, he's going to be back. But honestly, when somebody's gone that long, you don't really know how well. He's not going to come back 100%. They're going to have to ramp him up. What do you have in Alex Reyes? He hasn't been in the rotation for 4 years before he blew his arm out. So they have a lot of questions in their starting rotation right now. And I hate to say this, but if I had to pick one of them, I'd probably go with Adam Wainwright today, and handing Andrew Kisner the keys, the young catcher. So I'm doing that at this point. Now back onto Lindor. Look, talking about this earlier in the week. There's going to be a huge disruption in the baseball marketplace, and I think it comes via the New York Mets. They've got a new owner who seems to be hell-bent on getting that team back in contention, making them relevant again, and they haven't been. So we'll see what the Mets throw out there, but I think they're going to be a heavy contender. The Yankees are going to always be involved in talks with somebody like this, and but the Cardinals, I think the Cardinals will be in mentions. I just don't know if they're going to be willing to part with what it's going to take. I think it starts with Paul DeJong, and I'm not saying that Paul DeJong is a centerpiece at all. You can't compare him offensively really with Francisco Lindor. He's just so much better. But Cleveland, I don't know what they have in their market or in their farm system, but they're going to need a shortstop that can play now. Paul DeJong can definitely do that. He's steady on defense. He's not spectacular. He's not going to make a lot of highlight reels, but he's going to be pretty steady. He's got some power potential. He needs to make contact more consistently, which is kind of with the young Cardinal team we have, that's kind of the story. So I think he could be the part of the deal, but I think Cleveland's going to need a little bit more than that. They're going to need. They got a great rotation, guys. You look at them statistically; they're one of the better ones, right? That's what made Mike Clevenger expendable. So they've got a good young rotation, but as you guys know, you can never have too much of that stuff. So is an arm in the Cardinal system in the form of Matthew Liberatore? Could he be a part of that package? And then maybe another prospect, maybe a corner outfielder the Cardinals are looking to maybe move on, like a Tyler O'Neill. So I think they have enough there. I'm not saying those three guys do it, by the way, but I think they have enough there. They have enough to get the deal done, minus Dylan Carlson, minus Jack Flaherty. They're not going to give either of those two up, but I think they have enough other things there where they could make it happen. And they have enough where it could make it uncomfortable for us. But I'll say to the Cardinal fans that are enamored with our farm system and our rookies, like none of us know what the hell they're going to pan out to be. Like we all have these high hopes that the next person's the best, and what happens, right? Like how often do we actually land that person? How often do you actually land somebody like a Chris Bryant, where you know he's going to be an all-star or an MVP candidate when he comes up? Like it rarely happens. Talk to Cardinal fans, you think it happens every year, but it never actually works out. So they have enough to get it done. Yeah. I just don't. I think somebody else is going to go wacko and offer Cleveland more. And then after 2021, I don't know if this guy is hell-bent on hitting free agency or not, but I see my prediction for Francisco Lindor as we start the 2022 campaign, he's going to be New York Met regardless.
I think if he's smart, he signs an extension here. because you have a huge shortstop class after next year.
That's not something I was paying attention to. So yeah, you could have a point there. There could be other alternatives which could drive his price down, right? More supply than demand. So
exactly, because isn't it Lindor, Story, Baez, blanking, but like there's a fairly good shortstop class that's coming out, I think after 21. So it might be to his benefit to jump the market. And
could be,
especially if he gets traded somewhere like the Mets, or somewhere where they foresee that they're going to have those kind of deep pockets where they can lay out the money.
If he gets traded to the Mets, I think that's where he's going to land. And given that he's 26 years old, the other thing I think that works against the Cardinals and the way they operate is he's at 26 years old. Look at what Machado got. Look at what Harper got. They got 10-year deals. Now, he may not get the same AAV, exactly the same AAV, but he's going to probably get a 10-year deal if he really wants one out there somewhere. And I don't see the Cardinals doing that. Now, I don't see that now. Doesn't mean they won't do that because, look, they were willing to absorb Stanton's 8-9 years left on his deal. So they've come out of nowhere before. I think he actually had 10 by the time that trade happened. But they've shown a willingness to go there with a young player. And I don't know, man. I would be floored if they pulled something off like that. I will say that when they do want somebody, they go get them. But we're not talking about somebody who's going to probably demand a 10-year contract. Like a Paul Goldschmidt wasn't going to get a 10-year contract. They didn't even give Scott Rowland a 10-year contract. They give, they extended Albert 7 years. I've never seen him go that far, so it would shock me. I'm putting 10% probability that St. Louis has any chance at all of pulling off a deal like this.
So here's next year's shortstop class: Francisco Lindor, Trevor Story, Javier Baez, Carlos Correa, and Corey Seager. Pretty ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
I think Seager's not going anywhere if he has another year like this. He'll remain in LA. They've got we'll see, man. You know what, Pete? Everything could throw us off would be the CBA after next year, right? Like, what happens to this luxury tax threshold? Does it go up? Does it stay where it's at? Does it go away? I mean, we just don't know. We truly don't know. So yeah, that's baseball right now, and it's an interesting topic as it is every year when a big name's floating around out there. But we've finished second far too often. Sometimes third, fourth, sometimes not even in the mention. So I'm not going to set myself up for disappointment.
What do you think is going to happen with our Cubs, Elliott?
I don't know. I mean, it's been because of the way that everything has been. I mean, it's been quiet. I mean, they had a lot of accolades, and that was great to see for them. Darvish coming in second, and I don't know if you guys talked about the one lone writer who didn't even put him in the top 5 for the Cy Young Award.
Yep.
Because he blamed it. He said Darvish didn't pass the eye test. Bullshit.
Yeah. Do you know what beat he was on? You know what
the West.
He covered?
He
covered the Dodgers.
Okay. Yeah, because he got his sign stolen that year and lost all of his confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. Makes perfect sense.
So anyways, I have a feeling, I think I kind of caught when you were saying that Bright could be one of the pieces dealt this year. I don't know if Schwarber will be dealt. I just think there's too much of a love story between him and the front office right now. But there is the possibility that I could see them moving Ian Happ, though, because he's worth. I mean, he brought up his stock this past half season, so he's kind of proven himself as possibly that leadoff guy with some okay defense in center field, but that plus bat. So we'll see what happens. But it's kind of a crapshoot, really.
I still don't buy Ian Happ. He tailed off at the end of the year. I'm not sold. I know everybody else in Chicago thinks that he's the second coming, and I know Elliott's still waiting for him to hit.
He's not the second coming. I just think he
Well,
He
Michael
showed a
Cerami
lot
certainly
better
thinks
this
so.
year. Oh, yeah.
Guys,
He was like, credit where due. He was better this year, especially at the beginning of the year, but he tailed off again.
Yeah.
Like he's done every year that he's been in the majors. He tailed off. And I don't know what it is.
Well, for the record, everybody in the Cubs line had tailed off at the end of the year.
Well, I don't know if you consider it tailing off when you start at 200. I mean, kind of just flatlined. But yeah, I don't. Trady and Hep, I honestly don't care. It's fine.
Guys, there was something probably the funniest thing I've seen in a very long time. I want to play this here in a second. You guys have heard. We talked a little bit about the Tom Brenneman situation. When he apologized on air, right before he said his slur, he apologized and then called a home run right in the middle of it. And it was a very sad. I want to play that, and then want to play something I ran across on out there on social media. So I'm gonna play a clip of just Tom Brenneman's apology, and then in the middle of the apology, comically, he calls a home run, and it's the most somber thing I've ever heard. But just take a listen. Hang on, take a listen when I actually connect it to Bluetooth. Hang on a second.
When you hit play,
keep talking. Well, it would help if I hit play, but also help if I was actually hooked up to the board. So it'll just take me a second here. Okay. Did you guys hear that? I mean, have you guys heard a clip of that, of it actually playing out? You guys have, right? So maybe there's some people on here that haven't. So I'm just going to pull it up and play it.
I can't tell you how much I say from the bottom of my heart. I'm so very, very sorry. I pride myself and think of myself as a man of faith. As there's a drive in a deep left field by Castellanos, it will be a home run. And so that'll make it a 4-0 ball game. I don't know if I'm going to be putting on this headset again.
All right, so I stumbled across. God love the people that have time to do this kind of stuff on social media. Sometimes it's not even the joke that's funny; it's the fact that somebody put effort and even thought of doing it in the first place. But this is just something I stumbled onto last night.
I myself and think of myself as a man of the people. As there's a drive into deep left field by Castellanos, and that'll be a home run, and so they'll make it a 4-0 ball game. I don't know if I'll ever step foot in the Oval Office again, whether that be for the United States of America or my Trump hotel line.
Dude, that's a terrible deep fake.
It was, I don't know how they did it, but the fact that somebody just thought of sticking that, somebody who follows baseball, that it's a joke now. Somebody put out an electoral map, states that have said this, and it had like one state of Ohio colored in red, and everything else was whatever color. But God love the folks on social media that have time to do this shit. It's just the effort is what I laugh at, not necessarily even the joke.
I mean, how much audio did they have to go through to stitch that together?
I don't know. I really don't know. But I mean, you could have paid a comedian to do that, and it would have sounded seamless. But somebody did. Somebody found him saying the word Castellanos and 4-0 and home run. That's a lot of audio to sift through, I think.
I seriously doubt Donald Trump has ever said Castellanos or even knows who he is.
Maybe it was some kind of a TV interview from the mid-'90s or something. Who knows, man? Somebody had a lot of time on their hands, or staff.
Yeah.
All right. So the baseball talk's it's rather boring right now. I know some people are getting excited about potential trade rumors and things. I'm not. It's not that I'm a Debbie Downer. I just like come on, guys. Like, what have we seen here? What's been happening? Let's not get our hopes up.
With uncertainty over what budgets are going to look like, if you're going to have players in, I think what people should really get excited about are the non-tenders that are coming in the next couple of weeks, because we're going to see a slew of them. I think it's isn't it the first or second week in December is when tender deadlines or tender decisions have to be made.
Exactly.
You're going to see some names that you would never have seen
and you've already heard JT Realmuto is likely to not opt out, right? I don't know if it's an opt out or whatever, or not accept, but
he already rejected his QO.
He did. So he's going to be a free agent. So there's another one added to the list.
Free agent.
Yeah.
Who is it? It's Trevor Bauer and or no, not Trevor Bauer. Marcus Stroman and Kevin Gossman. Is that right? Who were the only two who accepted their QOs? Everybody else rejected them.
Yeah, and Stroman's with the Mets, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Imagine that new ownership. I imagine the new ownership deal has a lot to do with Stroman accepting that. But yeah, so it was a funny thing that is he back? There he is. I got to tell you guys this. So this happened, I think, on Monday. I get a phone call, right? And the person introduced themselves as, "Hey, Ron, this is so-and-so from the St. Louis Cardinals." And I just immediately thought, holy shit, they finally discovered me. They want me to do something for them officially, or they want to give me access or something. I mean, it's got to be it, right? All right, cleared my throat. The phone disconnected. Like, motherfucker. When he called, you know how sometimes your phone and your iPad will link? Mm-hmm. My 7-year-old cut the call off because he was playing. He was playing like Minecraft or something on it. Cut the call off. Didn't want to hear it anymore. Hit end, and I'm like, the number called back with in 10 seconds, and I'm screaming up the steps, "Do not hang up." Once again, "Hey, I'm so-and-so from the Cardinals. Looks like we got cut off there." I'm like, yeah, sorry about that. It was my son. Blah, blah, blah. And he's like, "Hey, just wanted to reach out to you and ask you." And I'm like, "Oh, here it is. Like, either I did something wrong and used a logo or something illegally at some point, and or they're like, "Hey, we were interested in talking to you about something." And instead the voice goes, "Hey, we just wanted to call and ask you, did you receive your cardboard fan cutout?" Fuck you. Yeah, got it. Thanks. Hang up. God, come on.
I thought they were going to ask if you wanted to, were you interested in season tickets for next year?
Well, and they did end the call with, I didn't hang up on them, but I was polite. But I was ultra crushed and disappointed. It was like almost thinking you're going to hear that you won when you didn't really think you were going to win, and obviously you didn't win, but you had that second there where you're like, maybe. Yeah, it was like that. But the call ended off, "Well, if you need anything else from us, tickets or anything else like that." I'm like, sure. Thanks, dude. Anyway, so that was the spark that happened, and of course it fizzled out and failed. And anyway, all right. So it is what it is. I'm just a fan, guys. I've never. That's what I'll remain. Just a nobody.
So, Ron, next time you get those cutouts, you need to put your son in a Team of Rivals podcast T-shirt.
I know, I will. I didn't.
Because then they reach out to you and they're like, "Hey, Ron, did you get your cutout?" And we wanted to ask, what the Team of Rivals podcast? What is that?
They weren't going to ask that, man. He was not in. He might have made camera once or twice if there was a foul ball or something, but he was in a place there where the outfield camera during the at bats wasn't going to capture him. But yeah, would have loved to have done that. But I tell you what, the person I'm impressed with most is whoever did the cutout. I think it was Kansas City of Weekend at Bernie's, the dead guy Bernie. Yeah. Who put that in the stands was brilliant. I'm like, you son of a bitch, I should have thought of that. But I didn't.
And didn't I see, wasn't it Oakland maybe? They put Bartman in the left field corner.
They did, yeah. Yeah, they did. They did.
I like the Colorado Rockies put the town of South Park in there.
Oh, I thought for some reason I was thinking Deadwood when you said that. I'm like, oh, that's brilliant because I love that show. But
that would have been good.
That would have been really good.
Yeah.
You had Woo right in the middle. He's my favorite character.
Al Swearingen just staring out at the pitcher.
Yep. All of them. Jane with the.
Yeah, I wasn't going to go there.
Jane with her bottle of booze. I know I wasn't going to say that either. But that's Woo's famous line. That's the only line he had in the whole show. But so okay, enough of baseball. I'm done with that shit. We did have a second episode, Pete. So send us through this one. I think collectively, we haven't heard Elliott's take on this, and Pete and I talked about it briefly. Probably not one of our favorite. Probably not one we're going to go back and revisit that often, but yet it was still a new episode, Pete. So go ahead and send us on this journey through chapter 10.
Honestly, I don't remember. I seriously don't. I don't remember the episode title. I barely remember.
It's called The Passenger, and
Elliott, take us through.
Yeah, no shit. Elliott, you drive this time.
Yes. I've actually watched the episode a couple of times because there's a couple of things I kind of caught. So,
Well, tell us what you caught, because I didn't want to go
goes
back and catch anything. This is my least favorite so far, I think, in the entire series.
Yeah, he's leaving Tatooine. The mechanic asks if he'll take a passenger with him. Says, I stake my life on it, whatever, and then just met her, which was kind of funny. Frog Lady has some unfertilized eggs that she's taking with her to meet her husband on a planet to extend their species.
Yeah.
So,
what a boring species. You have to fertilize the eggs outside of the. Okay.
That's what fish do, Ron. Come on.
Yeah, I don't like that. I would hate to be a fish.
They gotta put them in the water and then spray the water. Isn't that how it's done?
Yes, that is how it's done.
So anywho, go ahead. Yeah.
Here's what you know is going to happen. Ron, you alluded to it earlier.
Yeah.
This is going to end up being one of those unlock episodes in season 4 that we're going to be referring to, and we're going to be like, oh my God.
It's relevant now.
Episode 10.
Yeah.
Everything came together in that episode, right? Like that's going to be the one that we look back and we're like, oh, okay, right. But in the moment, this one's just a cipher. We're not going to remember it at the end of the season.
Yeah, the episode by itself reminds me a lot, Pete, of that droid arc in the Clone Wars, and which is my least favorite arc. It was like 4 episodes in a row. Like Filoni put us through purposeful torture for 4 weeks straight. And remember, guys, those episodes were like 45 minutes long. I mean, when they aired on, was it Cartoon Network, I think? Those things were like, it was an hour show with commercials. But it was a 4-arc episode, and I think one of them was like Sunny Day in the Void or something like that, and they had that annoying little frog guy, Colonel Bieber Gascon, voiced by Steven Stanton. He did a great job on the voice, but the character itself is like, that whole thing was just so uninteresting. But then we saw those droids in the very last episode, and they help Ahsoka and Rex escape Order 66. Yeah. So it's like he made them relevant, and you kind of enjoyed seeing, oh yeah, I remember those. You remember seeing them, and it goes back to that arc.
And it's also where Gregor was introduced.
Yeah.
Who ended up making a return in Rebels. Like, yeah, there were all kinds of things that started there.
So you can't. Your point is you can't throw this one away, right, Pete? It'll come back.
You can't
around.
write it off.
Yeah.
And this one had lots of references to previous episodes, right? It referenced, what was it, episode 5 or episode 6, The Prisoner, right? It referenced the prison ship.
Yep.
It referenced Matt Lanter's character in that. Brought back Dave Filoni as Wolf.
The pilot.
The pilot. I forget his last name, but Wolf, whatever it is, and then introduced a new pilot for us. But for me, the most memorable part of the entire episode was my son yelling at the screen after like the 2nd or 3rd egg, "Stop eating things!" He was getting so worked up watching the episode. He's like, "Dad, he's doing it again." And then he just literally yelled at the screen, "Stop eating things," at Baby Yoda. He was so mad.
Well, and I think the big thing is, and I think there's going to be something to come back on this planet, because those are the spiders from Rebels that Kanan and Ezra were fighting with or trying to understand with the Force with Doom. So,
see, I was so confused. I couldn't tell if those were the spiders from Rebels, if they were the little mechanical spiders from Minority Report, if they were the spiders from Lost in Space, the movie, or if it was Aragog and his brood from Harry Potter. I was so confused with this episode. I wasn't sure which spider it was that we were dealing with.
Yeah, I think Elliott's right. I think it's the that goes back to Macquarie artwork, right? Like original artwork, where that was a concept he had, and then it was in Rebels. You're right, Elliott. Those are things. Pete, I picked up on the joke. But again, it was just the whole, like, here's what pulled me out of the episode, guys. And I admit this, and I hate to say this because I love the guy, right? We're all huge fans of Dave Filoni, huge fans of his work, what he does with Star Wars. Like, when Star Wars is in his hands, like, we trust it. We trust that we're going to love it. We're going to talk about it. We love it enough to talk about it on a Thursday night, right? To go through all this effort. But when I saw his face in that X-Wing, and we saw him last year briefly, I think it was that episode 5, that prisoner, same episode when he showed up at the end, and he's an X-Wing pilot. Mm-hmm. And it kind of just pulled me out briefly in this one, because I'm like, we got a runner. He said when Mando took off, away from the X-Wing escort. And it's fine. You know what? 99% of the people that watch this shit don't know him as well as we do. They don't watch everything, so they were fine with it. But somebody like me, really? I want to see, the X-Wing pilots. I want to see, a Wedge type of person. Hell, I would have even taken Jack Porkins or somebody like that. That type that would have been in that moment where it kind of felt. But, it didn't ruin anything for me. Don't get me wrong. But for a second there, it kind of pulled me out, he was in episode 5. What's going on here?
Well, I mean, obviously that would indicate that he's in the same quadrant, right? Or the same area where he's because he's there, and there's the reference to the prison ship. But also, actually, I just looked it up on IMDb. Filoni's names is not in the credits on this. This is a Jon Favreau episode entirely.
Did he direct it?
He wrote it. No, he didn't direct it, but he wrote it.
He wrote this
Peyton
one?
Reed. Peyton Reed directed it.
Okay.
So Filoni may have given him some of the backstory to fill it in, but this is a Favreau episode.
I see. Okay. All right. I'm fine with it. Look, I'm fine with it. It was just one little detail there that kind of distracted me for a minute. I'm like, and then the 2 X-Wing pilots that show up at the end. I'm like, can there at least be one of them with a British accent? Because it's kind of the Death Star trench run. I mean, we had some British guys in there. You got to have a British guy in there at some point this year, right? So,
did we have British guys? I thought that they were pretty clear on that.
Or were they British
Brits
actors and they had
Empire.
American voiceovers, right? Like Wedge, the original guy for Wedge was an American voiceover.
Yeah,
it was still Dennis Lawson, but it was a voiceover. But anyway, so look, it didn't ruin anything. I just happened to notice it, and for a second, I'm like, really? Why? You got a runner. You can't do that. You're trying to escape.
Stop, please.
Hey, he's a director. Nobody said he was an actor.
No, I don't think he wants to be either. I think, I'm sure that getting in front of a camera is a different perspective for him. I don't know how comfortable he is with it, but I'm sure he's like, I'm glad that's over. I don't want to do that.
So supposedly one of those X-Wings, I guess, is at Galaxy's Edge down in Disney World.
Yes. I did hear that too. That it was in transit. They intercepted it and used it. So I didn't know they had that much detail in the cockpits on those things, though.
Apparently they do.
Yeah. I mean, if it's enough to film in, it must, right? So, okay, that's kind of cool. But okay, so that must have been a recent happening because I was down there it would have been over a year ago, probably 13 months ago. They only had the Resistance style X-Wing down there. They didn't have a Rebellion era X-Wing. It was the Resistance type. A little different.
Maybe they retrofitted it for filming. Who knows?
Possible.
No. I don't think so.
No, it's not possible. Ron says no.
No.
Who says no? That's the response now to the Ian Happ Obvious Shirts collab. Who says no? Ron.
Yeah, me.
Ron says no.
All right. So I look, as Elliott, we're going to walk us through this episode. I mean, so he can't travel light speed because of this frog lady's eggs, right? If they travel light speed, they die, and I guess there's physics behind that we don't understand.
It'll kill them, or they won't be able to be fertilized or something.
Right. So you had to travel sublight, which would have taken a hell of a lot longer, right? Even though the distance was relatively short in terms of Star Wars.
Right.
But X-Wings noticed that they're patrolling, patrolling out. Oh God, what is this? I don't even know what this is. And they find it, and they it's not transponding a signal, which is a Star Wars thing. All ships have a transponder that communicate what they are, and this one doesn't. He kind of tries to juke them a little bit. He tries to delay them so they'll go away, but they don't. And then their S-foils lock, and then he takes off. The whole planet thing for me is like he's pretty slick, but the one skill, he seems that he's not refined, and that maybe his piloting skills don't equal his hand-to-hand combat skills. Would you guys say that?
Yeah, but that would kind of make sense.
Sure, right?
Yeah, the Razor Crest is kind of a bulkier ship anyway.
Yeah.
And he's probably not used to flying on planet. He's used to flying from port to port, and then he does his maneuvering and uses his skills when he's out in the real world.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, he's not used to running away from people. So
that too.
That's the thing.
Yeah, laying low. I mean,
chasing people.
They're in a covent, right? So he's like underground usually, and that's why he wears that
Yeah.
shiny armor to not be noticed.
And he may be used to the kind of dogfights that you would have with another bounty hunter, where the premium is not going to be on weaponry and maneuverability, but is instead going to be on stealth and long distance travel. Right? I mean, look at Slave One. That doesn't exactly look like that's not a ship that screams offensive firepower. But then you look at an X-wing. I mean, they were developed to be maneuverable and fast and also armed to the teeth. So there's no way I would never have expected the Razor Crest to be able to outfly or outfight
two of them
an X-wing. And two of them.
Yeah.
Forget it.
But then he bungles it. He kind of crash lands. He tries some maneuver to hide himself, but then the whole thing falls through, and the chip's just destroyed. Right? I mean, the integrity of the hull's compromised, and this frog lady, which we're probably gonna love her later, but this frog lady takes off on her own. Finds a hot tub somewhere. Finds a hot tub.
Later.
No, hopefully. Finds a hot tub out there in the middle of an ice world. Soaking in a bath. They didn't even show her nude. They just showed her from the shoulder up in the water.
Ron, you sound disappointed.
Well, why not? But it is Disney Plus. I guess you can't. I guess you gotta. There's a adult
kid friendly.
Yeah, there's an adult subscription you got to put down. And you see her get up out of the water. You see frog butt and everything. But yeah, so that whole spider thing. Look, this. Pete, what was the part? Because he ate a ton. The child ate a ton of those eggs, but then he ate one of those damn spider creatures, like a baby one. At what point did your kid yell? Because was it the spider he ate?
Yeah, I think it was the spider because he'd already eaten 2 of the frog eggs, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, because he ate the third frog egg after they were right at the end of the episode. But yeah, it was when he ate the spider egg that my son just started yelling at the TV. He was so frustrated.
Well, when they were still on the ship, I think they were flying before they ever got attacked by the X-Wings, but the child went up to the tank, put his hand on it, and the eggs moved towards his hand. And I thought, maybe he's like, maybe this is some force thing, like he can sense their... I thought this might be a cool moment. No, man, he was just snacking. That's all it ended up being.
Yeah, I honestly, I had the same thought was, maybe Baby Yoda senses that what he can do is if he ingests the eggs, he can protect them from the jump to hyperspeed. And no, you're right. He was just hungry.
Yeah.
There was no bone broth lying around. There was no spatchka. So he was going for frog fetus.
Yeah. Okay. So.
Oh, and now Ron's gone. Hey.
No, I'm here. I'm here. I was just flipping around cameras. He's back. Okay. He keeps going in and out on us.
I am.
That's okay. So at this point, once he eats the baby spider, I don't know if all the other spiders sensed it and they hatched and all the big ones came out, but then all hell broke loose.
Kind of like Alien, where you touch the one and then you see all the other ones open up around there, and then they attack you.
Yeah, a little bit of an homage, I think, too.
Yeah, moment.
Yeah, same here. In fact, there was and I'm serious about this. There was a moment of horror when that happened. I thought, shit, no, they're not doing some kind of touch-on crossover where these are alien species.
Oh my God, if they had done that, I would have turned it off.
Yep, I would have been hugely upset and pissed off. I'm like, no, you do not touch our world. Like, you can't make any kind of connection to us. And aliens would have done that.
No xenomorphs.
I totally thought that's where that was going for like a brief moment. I'm like, okay, well, no, that's a spider creature. Very similar though, that egg that kind of opens up and like the leaves and oh man, if that thing would have attached a bit to the child's face, I may have been done. Elle may have been done. She's gonna get all those tattoos removed.
Oh, jeez.
An undertaking. So I think we've covered the episode from beginning to end. It wasn't my favorite, but Pete and I have said it. Elliott, I think you agree. At some point in time, there'll be a payoff. It's going to come way later, and we won't appreciate it now. And I don't. I'm looking forward to it tomorrow.
It's either going back to that planet or some sort of reference that puts it all together. And it's probably going to be with like maybe the meeting up with Ezra at some point, or Sabine, and so I mean, who knows?
Well, that's my speculation. Look, episode 3 of the first season was my favorite by far. That was the one that took a turn, right? And hopefully we get one of those types of episodes early on this time around. So
right, because we would assume that tonight's or tomorrow's episode, whenever you're watching, is going to be on this planet, this desolate planet, where the husband frog is waiting. So
yeah, I don't know, Pete. What are you expecting for coming up? Because we saw some clips, and trailers that I feel like 70% of the trailers we saw were from the first episode, but there were a couple glimpses, images we saw of people. One of them we all suspect is Sabine Wren. So I think that's a likely thing to come up. And I don't know that one will necessarily. I don't know. Maybe the cliffhanger of this year for the people that are most loyal to the show. Maybe something like that is towards the end, so you're just hooked and waiting on season 3 where you see somebody that ties into something else. Or do they bring it in earlier? Because they've shown kind of a thing here, Pete, where they haven't waited. The only thing they waited on that left us with a cliffhanger, if you will, is the Darksaber in Chapter 8, as we waited for season 2. When is this character, the Sabine character, we think it is, when do you think that'll show up?
That's a great question. I don't know, because think about it, right? You got to bring Sabine. You got to bring in, obviously, Ahsoka. I'm still holding out hope that joining Ahsoka will be Captain Rex. But I think before we get any of those, we've got to get Gideon back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Moff Gideon, right? Because that's you would think that that's what's going to bring Sabine. And again, well, we don't necessarily know Sabine, but we definitely do know. Help me out, Katie Sackhoff, Bo-Katan. We know she's going to be there, so that's got to bring her out of the woodwork. Is going to be the Darksaber.
And you think with all his knowledge and everything,
get back together with Grief Karga, and
although that could be at the end. That could be. I could see that being at the end of the season.
Yeah,
because Grief is significantly more gray in the previews that we've seen than he was at the end of episode.
Well, it could have been just lighting of Navarro.
I don't think so.
No, I don't know.
Take a look at him. Carl's looking gray.
Yeah, it will be interesting when they reveal all these things. Are they going to wait till the end to get you really hooked on season 3, or are some of these things going to be brought in a little bit sooner? There's a lot there, man. They're not going to do it all at once. That's for sure, right? They're gonna spread it out. So one of those big surprises is definitely, I think, going to happen on the last episode as we get towards Christmas, I think. But I think some of these other storylines, I guess the Mandalorian's journey to get the child back with its species is going to that path is going to have to lead to characters that would have known, that would have been able to kind of connect those dots for the Mandalorian. I think one of those could still be Boba Fett. I mean, we all saw him at the end of episode or chapter 9, right? And Boba Fett, that character had knowledge of everything. He's been there since the Clone Wars. He's been there since episode 2, Attack of the Clones. Like that dude knows all the key players, and he probably has an awareness of all of them. And so that could be one thing. It could be Sabine Wren that had a tie to it. But you think about all those, with the exception of Ahsoka, which we all suspect is going to be back and making a cameo appearance here. With the exception of Boba Fett, those two right there are the only two I can think of, right, that are going to be able to ultimately send him on his way. But still, I don't know what to think of Boba Fett kind of showing his face in this series, what that's ultimately going to mean. Is he just going to be pissed off and want that armor back? Or is he going to make some kind of connection with Din Djarin and help in the journey? I just don't know if they're going to make Boba Fett heroic or if they're going to keep him the villain.
And you gotta pay that story off. You can't have that appearance and not pay it off.
Right. Yeah, right? No, that'd be a huge disappointment. 10
seconds at the end of episode 9 is not the last that we're going to see of Boba Fett.
No, and you know what, Pete? I suspect we're going to get... This would be cool, and this is just me fanboying out here for a second. We hear about Boba Fett's story, whether he corners Din Djarin, they have a conversation, he shares a memory or something with him, that we see that flashback type of shit that we got with Cobb Vanth, where we saw flashbacks before he got the armor, what happened, and I'm just wondering if we get some kind of glimpse, Pete, some kind of anything, because they were in a Tatooine desert setting, if we get anything where how he escaped and what happened to him, and how he lost it in the first place. And, is that kind of dialogue connection going to lead to Boba Fett? Maybe it's a trade. I'll give you the shit back. Tell me where to go. Tell me who to find, and tell me what all this stuff means. And so it could very well be something like that.
Could be.
Which would be cool.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
As long as he's still a dick in the end. Because he has to be a bad guy, right? I mean, he has to be the bad guy.
Yeah, he does. You got to pay it off.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
Is that about it, boys?
More to come. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, more to come. What, 6 hours, roughly?
I don't know. I'll probably watch tomorrow morning. Hopefully I'll watch tomorrow morning. I'm glad I didn't wake up at 5:30 for chapter 10, but maybe I'll feel different tomorrow.
Yeah. I don't have the boy until Sunday. I don't know if I'm going to be able to wait.
I don't know how you do it, man.
You can always watch it twice.
Yeah, well.
And act surprised.
That's right. Well, we're not live on Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope. You can find us anywhere and everywhere. Our website's teamofrivalspodcast.com. You can follow us on Instagram at Team Rivals Podcast or on Twitter at Team Rivals Pod. Send us an email at teamofrivalspodcast.com. You can find Elliott on Twitter at
TOR_Elliott.
Way to be on top of things, buddy. You can find Ron at
TR_Ron75.
If you are watching us live, you can also catch us anywhere you listen to podcasts. We're on Apple Podcasts, or else you can find us on SoundCloud. If you love the show, subscribe, unsubscribe, resubscribe. Let's trick the algorithms. And then after you've done that, leave us a review by going to ratethispodcast.com/TOR. Follow the simple instructions. Make it a good one. Let's try and get ourselves up those charts so that we can get, maybe $5. That's all. Just $5.
That'd be cool.
Not per month, just $5. Somebody who's listening, send us $5.
Give me your address.
I dare you. But only $5. If we get more than $5, we're sending it back.
That's right. Don't take anything more than $5. All right, gentlemen. Look, I don't predict that. I know we're getting close to a holiday here, but maybe we can squeeze another one in next week if we've got some interesting, I think, Star Wars content to talk about first and foremost. I don't predict that a lot of interesting things are going to happen in baseball, but I've been tricked before. If that does happen, rest assured we will touch on that too next week. But let's all hope for a very interesting episode that we're just chomping at the bit to talk about next week. That's what I'm hoping for. But until then, we love you all so much, and we'll talk to you again very, very soon. Bye-bye, everyone.